might be retired, but he's still not out. Join former Australian all-rounder Jason Dizzy Gillespie and Travis Wakeling for some unfiltered cricket chat, legendary stories, and a laugh or two along the way. Let's play. Guess what? It's episode number 2, long form. We've done a few little in-between episodes, but still not out podcast. My name's Travis Wakeling. You know who this guy is, Jason Gillespie. 71 test matches for Australia, a whole bunch of ODI cricket, 1 T20 international where he finished not out as well. But Diz, welcome back to your podcast and good to see you again in the flesh.
It's great to see you too, Trav. We've spoken over the phone a little bit. And caught up that way, but yeah, nice to be sitting here at Seacliff Golf Park and again.
Hey, the course is looking unbelievable. Now we love coming out here to record an episode, and obviously for convenience purposes, sometimes we need to just catch up online. But it is nice when we get to come out here. We're lining up a bit of a game for our next episode, so I think look out. Well, there could be some very shocking golf.
There's going to be some horrendous golf, ladies and gentlemen. But so strap yourselves in for that. But I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun.
We will. But there's heaps of stuff happening before then. There's a lot going on in your world at the moment.
There's a bit going on in my world. There's a bit going on in your world as well.
Yeah, there is. Well, we're both busy people working in sports media, ahead of an Ashes series. But most importantly, the attire that we've got on today is incredible.
I'm loving your shirt.
But, mine hardly fits, but it's a great shirt. So, Diz, I want you to tell us about it now. Listeners, I'm gonna stand up and do a circle.
Okay, so this is through our brand Helix Sports. Okay, turn around. Yeah, look, we've got all my numbers from my career. If you turn back around, Trav, the Indigenous artwork here is from where I come from in New South Wales. Marcus McGregor Cassidy is an Indigenous artist who put that together, and the footprints symbolise the journey that I've gone on in my life journey. So it's pretty cool. It's a nice shirt.
It is, mate. Could have gone a size up next time. But,
I'm sorry about that.
I'll put in my order specifically next time. Now, you said if enough people message you and say that they want a piece of the shirt, you'll put it up for sale.
Yeah, they're not for sale at the moment. But look, if there is enough interest, then maybe we can revisit that. But yeah, what do you think of my shirt?
I really like it. So this is the Sri Lanka shirt. You went on a trip recently. Tell us about it.
Just went over to Colombo and spoke at this entrepreneur business dinner or function, and they just wanted me to talk through my life story basically. So just shared my early life, early childhood, and then going through my teenage years and transitioning into adulthood and professional sport, and then transitioning out of professional sport. And yeah, it was good fun to actually write the speech and sort of reminisce a little bit, which was really cool. And then be able to deliver that speech, I suppose, was a lot of fun.
That's really interested me actually that you wrote your speech. I didn't picture you as a write your speech kind of guy. You're a good speaker. You know what you're talking about. How much writing are we talking? A few dot points, or are you word for word?
No, I started off as dot points. So I thought if I just have a few of my dot points, I can just reference it on a bit of paper, and then I can just start talking. And I thought I practiced it a few times, and I ummed and ahed. I didn't quite get what I wanted to get across exactly how I wanted it. So I then transitioned into, I wrote it all down on paper. And in the end, I had about 15 sheets of paper. And I was a bit worried if I was up there with the lectern, I'm forever turning pages over and pages over. So then I transitioned it from the paper onto my iPad, and then I was able to just scroll down. But I did have the speech on paper in my breast pocket in case the technology shut itself, basically, because I'm a bit of a technophobe. So I was a little bit worried I'd be up on stage and something would happen to my iPad would freeze and I'd have. But thankfully, it went okay, and the speech was well received, and it was it was quite enjoyable in the end.
Standing ovation or just a raucous of applause?
I wouldn't say it was a standing ovation, but there was polite applause. I'd say it's probably more to the point. But yeah, no, look, it was very good. It was actually interesting, writing and going through my journey, talking about challenges, lessons I've learnt from my playing days. What lit the spark in me to go down that path, and how badly did I want to be a professional cricketer. So it was nice to reflect on that, and then the lessons I learnt from my playing days, and then going into coaching and whatnot. So yeah, it was good fun.
So you have been a busy boy. Now, not only have you been to Sri Lanka, you've been to Melbourne.
Yep.
You've been on the phone. Now, I was a little bit concerned about you this morning, I must admit, and I sent you a message just to check in and make sure you're okay. You're an Australian legend. Played a lot of Ashes Test yourself, so people want to hear from you, and especially around this time of year, we're a few days out from an Ashes Test. Everywhere I turn now, I'm a producer. I'm a radio producer. I was looking after a breakfast.
You're the
show.
one who keeps asking me to do SEN.
Well, I purposely didn't ask you this week as well because I was like, oh, look, I do ask you a few times. So, and I heard you were on a drive show yesterday, and you did a great job.
I did 4BC this morning, and they gave us a plug, which was really good.
Nice.
So really happy with that. So that was a good interview, actually. They asked a lot about Brendan Doggett, which obviously they're claiming him as a Queenslander, and probably fair enough too. So,
well, interestingly, we had Andy Bickle on our breakfast show this morning, and that was with SENSA Breakfast, Jared Walsh and Mark Bickley. Now, we spoke to him a lot about Brendan Doggett as well, because he had him in his early days of his career, and then you nabbed him, saw the potential in him, and I mean, we spoke a lot about his Test aspirations, but my goodness, he's been a good recruit for South Australia.
Yeah, he certainly has, and look, when we reached out to Brendan to try and recruit him, we sold the dream of we're building something here, and we believe that in a few years' time we'll be very much competing for trophies, and we see him as an important part of that. So we actively recruited him and Nathan McSweeney. We knew they were good mates as well. I knew if we could get Brendan over the line, we were a good chance of getting McSweeney as well. And as it turned out, that's exactly what happened. These things don't come cheap, but players will only move if it's significant. And there's two things. Financially, obviously, it has to work for players to make a big move like that, and two, opportunity. And if they feel they can contribute to the success of a team. And, Brendan was sort of an established player, so it was probably a different motivation for him. But with Nathan, it was about opportunity, and he wasn't quite getting the opportunities in Queensland that he maybe would have liked. And we seized on that and saw an opportunity to get him on board. And, gee whiz, what two great recruits for South Australia they've been. One's captaining South Australia, and has played Test cricket in Nathan McSweeney, and Brendan Doggett's on the cusp of hopefully playing Test cricket as well.
You took the words out of my mouth. 11-wicket haul in a drought-breaking Shield final as well.
He bowled beautifully that game, didn't he, Trev? We were there.
So good.
In the media. It was great.
It felt like he was bowling one of those spells where you just felt like he was going to take a wicket every ball. What is it about his bowling? A lot of people, we're hearing a lot about he's been putting up the numbers, and he's been really consistent for South Australia. But what is it about his actual bowling that makes him such a difficult customer for the batters?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think airspeed's one. I know Jake Lehman over the years has said that when he was still at Queensland, probably a year or two before he came to South Australia, Jake said he faced a couple of spells off him that were as fast as he's faced in first-class cricket anywhere in the world. So that's a pretty big rap. That was probably when Brendan was at his fastest, but certainly airspeed's one. But secondly, I think his stock delivery, the top of off ball, I think is a fraction fuller than most bowlers. And on top of that, it's not only just a little bit fuller, and we're only talking a small margin. just a little bit fuller, but he actually also is looking to swing the ball away from the right-handers into the left-handers. And when he gets that shape right, that makes you a pretty tricky customer to face.
I can't wait to see him. You hope he gets the nod, but also from your own perspective as well. And I know you've touched on this in your interviews you've had so far this week, but must be really special to yourself, an Indigenous man, to be able to see that there'll be pretty much two Indigenous players represented in the Australian setup for the first time, which is unbelievable progress.
Yeah, first time in history. 2 in the starting 11. It's great that two Indigenous men are in the squad, but to have 2 in the final 11 never happened before Australian cricket history. So, it's a big moment in Test cricket in our country.
It is. Maybe they could bowl with Jackson Gillespie one day in the. Maybe Scotty's Scotty needs to stick around for a while.
Yeah,
but.
Young Jacko's got a bit of work to do, I think, as well. He's coming along. He's only a young kid.
He's getting a bit of media at the moment as well.
He is. He was in the Indigenous training camp and got to meet Scott Boland, his hero, which was really exciting. We got to have a photo on the MCG. He got to bowl on the MCG. So pretty special moment. But look, he's really early in his career. He was actually quite a late starter in cricket, my boy. And so he just hasn't had the game time, hasn't had the overs yet. So at the moment, he's still pretty inconsistent. But with more game time, more overs under his belt, he'll certainly develop and improve. So he's looking forward to that. He's at Adelaide Uni at the moment, plying his trade, and absolutely loves the club and really enjoys it and loves the environment there. So he's just hoping he wants to be able to contribute to the team doing well, and which is fantastic.
He bowls a bit rapid as well, which is good to hear. Now, we've gone straight into the tall weeds. We've gone into the cricket stuff now. I just wanted to peg it back a little bit here and just talk a little bit about your schedule, because we were talking about how busy you are, right? And
I haven't been. There's been a fair chunk of this year where I haven't been busy at all, so it's actually quite nice.
Yeah. So have you got a few cashies lined up for the next week or so?
No, I don't do cashies, mate.
You don't do cashies?
No. I've got a few speaking gigs lined up. So we're going to Perth, obviously.
So you wouldn't call a speaking gig a cashy?
No. Well, cashy would indicate that you're getting paid cash. No. So I've got a few lined up. So I'm doing one with Damien Fleming and a few other former players in Perth on Thursday lunchtime, and then another appearance in the evening, and then we'll have day one of the test, which really looking forward to. I think just that air of excitement of even just walking to the ground, walking across the bridge at Perth towards Perth Stadium, going in there, flashing your media creds, able to get up and get settled in the media centre, and then just soak in the atmosphere and be part of the build-up on air, leading into the toss and then the first ball. So it's going to be super exciting, and I can't wait to get over there.
So you're essentially on tour with a whole bunch of your old mates from your cricketing days.
And I don't have to do any warm-ups.
Yeah. Well, what about a vocal warm-up? You don't get into your vocal warm-ups at all there, Diz, with your commentary?
Oh, maybe just a bit of Listerine or something. No, it'll be good. No, but it's exciting, and you're right. I mean, a lot of guys I played cricket with and against are going to be there in whether it's in coaching capacities or media capacities. So to be able to catch up and hang out with those guys, it's going to be really exciting and really looking forward to it.
Will you mix in much with the current playing group at all?
Probably not a lot. I mean, look, on the ground and that pre and post play, like especially if we're doing some interviews and media, but I mean, they're playing. They've got to concentrate on the game. From time to time, the guys I've coached, obviously Trav and Kez, you might see them and catch up with them here and there. But ultimately, you want to leave the players to play the game, and to we want them cherry ripe to do their best for Australia. So we want to make sure they're fit and firing.
We do. Now, are you going to get time for your Swish bookings over the over the next few weeks? Because I've been seeing you've been giving yourself a plug, Swish bookings.
I've done a couple of them over the journey. I don't know if people know what Swish is. It's do you want to explain it? Or?
I'd love to explain it because I've used it previously. I haven't actually used that platform. I've used a similar platform for it before. But essentially, you can pay for You can pay for a special message. It can be birthdays, Christmas, corporate events, or you could choose basically. But no, I've looked after Joe with my wife with a couple of special mentions. Now I'm just trying to think. Have you watched The Inbetweeners?
No.
Well, there is a comedian. Listeners will probably know Jay from The Inbetweeners. He did a birthday shout out for her, which was brilliant.
Joe? Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, so that was really good. And also Christian Hull, who's a TikTok influencer that she loves.
Right.
He brought out a board game, and I bought her. This is how clever I am. I bought her the board game as a birthday present,
Right.
and then I got her a specialised message from Christian Hull revealing what her present is.
That's pretty cool.
Is that not?
That's well thought out.
I think so.
Gee, Joe, she's a lucky lady, isn't she, Travis?
She is, dears. But please explain what people can look forward to. I've got a special challenge for you in just a second. But what kind of shout outs have you done on Swish?
Oh, it's very similar. Well, not board games or not big reveals for birthday presents, but yeah, look, birthdays, all the best for the cricket season. Big fan. Our dad's a big fan. And you just wish him all the best for this cricket season ahead, or happy birthday. Yeah, it's quite good, and part of the proceeds go to charity as well. So yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes.
Nice. So Harry's birthday's coming up.
Is it?
Yep, 14th of December.
Nice.
So I've got the camera on. So would you be up for wishing Harry a happy birthday Swish style?
Oh, how old is he turning?
He is turning 12.
He's turning 12. All right. Happy birthday, Harry. Hope your cricket is going well, mate, as I know the season's just started. So hope you have a great birthday. Hope Dad gets you a new cricket bat, because he said he was keen to get you one. And hope that bat goes well, and all the best with your cricket, mate.
I think you were going to give me one of your old ones, weren't you?
I never said that. They're too big. Harry's only 12, mate.
Yeah. So how much do I have to pay for that, Diz?
No, well, you'll just come down. I'll look after you. We'll come down to the shop.
All right. We'll do a cashy.
We'll do a deal.
Oh, too good. We were talking again about. I've had a big day today. I've been doing breakfast radio this morning as a producer in my.
Do you enjoy the producing?
I love producing. It's good fun. It's hectic. A lot of your work's done before the show, so then during the show you can sort of sit back and enjoy the work of our great host, Walshy and Bix. But I was up late last night. We were talking about your radio gigs. I was up late trying to get a breakfast guest, and people don't love talking at 7 o'clock in the morning as well.
No, they don't.
But it was we had a couple of great guests. I briefly mentioned Andy Bickle was awesome. We also had Liam Plunkett.
Nice.
Now Liam Plunkett was
a
bit of a random one for us, but our great supporter Adam Bannon, who we love, shout out to you, Adam.
G'day, Adam.
Is running his own podcast with Liam Plunkett. So that's cricket, and I thought, well, I'll message him.
Yeah.
See if he can ask Liam for me, if Liam could come on the show.
Perfect.
And it was a win. It was a great chat. So he actually carried the drinks for the whole 06-07 Ashes series.
He did. That's right. He did too.
But he didn't finish his international career until 2019. So that was a 14-year career. You had a bit of time with Liam Plunkett as well.
Yeah. So Liam's a great story. And mind you, he had trouble. He was struggling with his game at Durham, and this is sort of 2010, 2011, and so much so that he was playing second 11 cricket and struggling. He wasn't, he was trying all these different things and nothing was working. And when I came on board in 2012, we sort of I'd seen throughout 2012 he hadn't really played for Durham much, and he was struggling a little bit, and he was pretty much at the crossroads. He was sort of deciding what to do with his, how his cricket, where it was going, and we met him and sold him the dream. So, mate, would you be keen to come down the A1, the A1M, and play in Leeds? I just want you to run in and bowl fast. I'm not worried about you going for 2 or 3 runs and over. I don't care. Your point of difference is your airspeed. You bowl fast. You're tall and you bowl fast. I want you to run in and create chaos. Run in and just bowl fast. Come around the wicket, bowl short balls. Just let's create chaos. We've got enough bowlers who can come in and go 2, 2.5 and over. I need someone that can just rattle the cage a little bit. And I think he liked that messaging, and so he ended up signing, and he became such an important cog in our engine. And we managed to win 2 county championships, and he was a huge part of that. And in part, I think his genuine pace and just rediscovered a bit of love for his cricket that in part got him back playing international cricket, because England selectors could see, obviously, we've got someone here who can bowl really fast, and and that's a big point of difference. So, no, but full credit to him. He embraced it. One thing about Liam that really stood out for me is his work ethic. One of the hardest trainers, one of the fittest cricketers that I've seen. And it's no wonder to me now that he's 40 years of age and he's still playing cricket.
Yeah.
So fair play to you, Pudsey. Pudsey Bear is his nickname.
Where'd that come from?
I'm not sure. I think it is Durham days. So.
We'll have to get him to.
Yeah,
he'll be listening, so we'll get him to.
We'll get him to
know.
explain it. Maybe send us a message. So but great fella, Pudsey, and really enjoyed working with him, and great to see he's doing a lot of real positive things in USA cricket.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
And yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I just had a little bit of a thought pop through my brain. We should link up with them for an episode. Do a double episode of their podcast and ours.
Why not?
Why
not?
Well,
It'd be fantastic.
I'll put them to it. Now, I just want to get into some basketball as well, because we've got some heavy cricket stuff to go through. We've got some big Ashes stuff to talk about.
Yep.
So before we do that, I just want to pay a bit of credit. You went off the bat, first episode 3 weeks ago. Only been a couple of games played, and you were like, "No, OKC by this much." And so far, 13-1. They only lost to Portland last week. They are flying.
They are flying. They're a good team. They're just consistent, aren't they? I don't know as much about basketball as you or other people, but what I see is that teams that it looks like when everyone's really clear what their role is and they can just implement those roles, that those teams tend to perform quite well. And that's what it looks like with Oklahoma. They just look like everyone's just got absolute clarity, and then they just go and execute.
Isn't that funny how that works pretty much across all sports as well? It's
it's
simple.
life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you know exactly and specifically what your role is, surely you have more chance of succeeding at it if you know actually what's expected of you.
If you think about general life, I think I know my role at home, but sometimes
definitely know
sometimes it's questionable. But
I know my role at home as well.
And our boy Josh Giddey, triple-double
again
in a loss.
Again, that is an overtime loss against Utah.
Second overtime.
Yeah.
150 to 147.
That's some huge numbers too, isn't it? 150 to 147. But he's in career best form, isn't he? He's a proper player, isn't he? And it's good to see some Aussies on the Chicago Bulls books, which is fantastic.
It is. It's crazy the difference in some sports, and I follow both sort of on a results basis and have a look at highlights here and there, but you've got a sport like basketball where you can have 150 to 147, and then you have a sport like soccer that you can have a 0-0 draw, yet somehow both are just as exciting.
Absolutely. And I remember speaking to someone about this when I lived in the UK, and I'd say, but there's only it's 1-0 or 2-1, and one of my mates explained it to me. So it's just such a build-up, and it's the excitement of that one moment just brings you back. And there's so much toing and froing in football, soccer, and it's just taking those moments when they come. Over the course of 90 minutes, you may only get one opportunity to score. So you've got to be switched on. You've got to be ready to take it. And, compared to our sports like AFL footy, for instance, like you're scoring regularly in games, so that it doesn't have that raucous applause after each goal compared to in the Premier League when it's 1-0, they absolutely go ballistic. They go absolute bananas. Yeah.
Well, I won't spend too much time talking about EPL. My Spurs are going all right. They're fifth on the table, and they're going okay. They've probably dropped a couple of games that they shouldn't.
Remind me again, why do you go for the Spurs?
It's a family thing. So my grandma actually grew up on the street, sort of run parallel with their stadium at White Hart Lane.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I've all of my uncles and my cousins and everyone over in the UK. My dad's side of the family are from over there. So for me, it's just always been a family thing. So I've been to a few games, luckily enough for me. So the best one I ever went to was a 4-0 win over Liverpool back in the day where we had
At White Hart Lane?
Yep. Nice. And I haven't been to the new stadium, but we had Gareth Bale and Luka Modric back in those days. And, oh, man, it was a good experience. But it's one of those sports that I need to be really in the mood to watch it and stick to it because I do like a high scoring game. But hey, we're going to get into, speaking of scoring, get into the scorecard.
Okay.
So the scorecard is brought to us by Belair Turf, who are our founding sponsor, and of course the Seacliff Golf Course, who we cannot thank enough for housing us here. We've got the view, and you will get the view. I might even do a little panning when I edit this video, but it's a little bit overcast today, isn't it, Diz?
Yeah, but it's beautiful and lush and green out there, isn't it?
It is. It is getting to that golf season. So head down, $15 Monday to Friday, $15 to play 9 holes after 3 o'clock. So it's a bargain.
It's best value sporting event in South Australia, I would have thought.
I think so. We got a Christmas event. I actually invited you, but you're too busy doing your cashies. But we've got a Christmas event coming up here. $55 Ambrose competition. It's a shotgun start. Friday the 12th of December. So if you're in Adelaide and you want to get involved, head to the Seacliff Golf Course on Instagram and hit them up with a phone call or a direct message. And
absolutely.
Teams of 4, $55 per person. Wood oven pizzas are on for the night. It's going to be a good night. So jump on board with the Twilight event over the Christmas period. So big win, huge win for South Africa. At the Eden Gardens over India, 30 runs. It was a low-scoring game, but I saw your commentary on X. We had to talk about it. This is a exceptional result for Test cricket. I know the Indian fans that are listening won't necessarily think so, but in terms of where we're at in Test cricket now as a sport, it's huge.
It really is, and I think it was Temba Bavuma's 10th win out of 11 starts as captain of South Africa. I think that's immense. And I don't know if you saw his catch to dismiss Axar Patel late when Maharaj was copping a bit of tap for him. It was a skied slog sweep. He was running back. It was a really pivotal moment of the game because it looked like Axar Patel was going to take the game away from South Africa. And Bavuma, cool as a cucumber, underneath that high ball, took the catch, and that pretty much ended any chance that India had of winning that game. A lot of discussion have been about the surface. It was basically requested by Indian management. I'll be honest. I'm in the minority actually in professional cricket because a lot of people think home ground advantage and you should have surfaces that suit your team because that's what home ground advantage is. I disagree with that because I think home advantage is just that you're playing at home. Leave the curators, leave the ground staff to do their job and prepare the surface to the best of their ability to last 5 days. And then you go out, both teams go out and play the game and may the best team win. Because home ground advantage is the fact that you're home in your own country. Opposition have to fly all the way to your country to play. So that's not an advantage. So that's my take on it. And I know there's a lot of people that disagree with that, particularly in professional cricket circles. But I think let the curators do their job, less interference from players and coaches and administrators, the better.
Well, I know, coming from a cricket fan's perspective, that I want to see longer test matches. Like, hey, I clear my schedule to make sure that I'm available for as many test match days as possible. I was devastated when the World Test Championship went so quickly because I was pumped for the World Test Championship.
Same.
And that was another huge win for South Africa as well. But, you just think, we talk about what's best for the game. Well, best for the game is those games are going a bit longer. You want results, but you don't want them inside 2 days.
No, you don't. Look, I think most people can cop if a game's won by the 4th day or early on the 5th. I think that's fair. But yeah, to see a game finish early on the 3rd day, I think that means the surface isn't good enough. that would be my perspective on it. And what we want, because we don't want to lose Test cricket, and Test cricket is, I think a crucial part of the game. It's what players want to play. Like you ask most players in world cricket, they aspire to play the long form of the game. They want to be tested because that's what it is. It's a test. It's a test physically. It's a test mentally. It's a test of your skills, a test of your patience and your disciplines. All these things wrapped up, being able to do that day after day after day after day, and the players want that. I think the cricket community wants it. Supporters, they love multi-day cricket. Players are judged on their Test performances by and large, and so I think it needs to be protected. Obviously with franchise cricket that's come in the last couple of decades, last decade or so, or 2 decades now. We love franchise cricket. Don't get me wrong, but franchise cricket won't be as what's the word I'm trying to use? It won't be as big without Test cricket.
So you're essentially saying people make their names at Test level,
absolutely,
even international one-day cricket,
Yep.
T20 cricket, and that's where they filter out and find their opportunities in these franchise leagues, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. So players are getting picked up in these leagues on the back of their international form. So that's why international cricket is still crucial. I can see a day where there isn't as much international T20 cricket played, and that T20 is more saved for franchise tournaments and World Cups. Because there's still a massive appetite for 50-over cricket in India in particular. And that's where a lot of world revenue is generated in India. Let's make no mistake. That's the place where a lot of the finances of world cricket are generated. And India have got a responsibility to the game. I think they can leave behind a huge legacy for the health of the game worldwide, particularly with some countries that maybe aren't as financial as they are. I mean, no country is as financial as India, but I think in India that they can set a really good legacy piece here for the health of the game worldwide, and decisions that are made at ICC level. Hopefully, they involve as much Test cricket as possible that can be fit into the calendar. With as many nations playing as possible, because we don't want a situation where we're only playing with three Test playing nations. We need to see this summer in South Africa, they don't play a home Test, Trev, not one, and I think that's a travesty.
Good play on words there.
Very good play on words.
Well, here's the thought for you.
Right.
I've been doing some thinking. So World Cups really should, and I know they've been a little bit different because of COVID and years changing and all these sorts of things. But realistically, we should have a World T20 every 4 years and an ODI World Cup every 4 years. And they should be alternating. So essentially every 2 years you have a World Cup and they alternate, right?
Yes.
In that period, you've got your division. So you've got your lower ranked sides and you've got your higher ranked sides. You play, let's say there's 6 in each division, and you play 3 games against each side in a 2-year cycle, just in that format. So if you're leading into an ODI World Cup, you play the other 5 teams in your division, 3 matches each, and then that will then qualify your positions for the ODI World Cup. Then you switch it and you go T20 for the next 2 years. No ODI cricket in that time. T20 International, and you play again for your rankings in the next T20 World Cup, and vice versa. Just a little bit of a.
Don't mind the thinking. I got to think outside the square a little bit. I think a lot will depend on what the ICC's negotiated regarding TV rights, what the individual host nations have, because there's a lot of bilateral series, aren't there, in all formats?
Too many.
But that's to satisfy the broadcasting criteria. So Yeah, look, obviously well above our pay grade, Trav, but it's good to unpack it a little bit and discuss it and debate it. But I don't mind you thinking. I'm not sure I'm sold on having a World Cup every 2 years, or in formats. Like having a World T20 every second year, I think it is at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think that's too much.
I think every 4 years,
Yeah.
I agree with you, is fantastic.
And then it would seem logical to then remove that other format for those 2 years. So you play in towards.
I don't know about removing the format completely, but you could certainly have a priority of one format over the other in that 2 year period without sacrificing, because might be some players who are only 50 over players or just T20 players. Then they'll go essentially, by your model, they'll go 2 years without playing in national cricket.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's quite right, but I think potentially making one format over the other leading into World Cup a bit more of a priority, I can see that happening, yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, we'll package that up. We'll send it to the ICC and we'll see if it can be in our pay grade, because I would certainly be like to be in that pay grade.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
It'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
I think we'd be, what would we be? Where would we be recording our podcast from if we would be some palace in India somewhere? I guess.
Ooh.
If we were running the game, making these big decisions.
I think we'd find nice island with a nice view of the ocean, and some palm trees, and
a nice sea, and just replicate the Seacliff Golf Course.
Yeah, if we could replicate the Seacliff Golf Course, somewhere in an island on the Indian Ocean, that'd be lovely, or Pacific Ocean, that'd be lovely.
Hey, before we get into the Sheffield Shield, because the Sheffield Shield table is a sight to behold at the moment, but particularly if you're a Victorian fan, but there was an outstanding performance, and it was an under-15s game in Premier Cricket on the weekend just gone, and hey, it deserves a shout-out. So Hayden Atts from Sturt District Cricket Club. Do you remember what we spoke about this before? Do you remember what his numbers were on the weekend?
Was it 7 for 5?
7 for 5. What was your best figures in any form of cricket that you've ever got?
8 for 38 I got off playing D grade for Adelaide Cricket Club, off 36 overs straight. So we didn't have workloads back then.
Wow.
We just ran in and bowled. And I wasn't, I had a long run, but I wasn't bowling and obviously as quick. But yeah, 36 overs on the bounce I bowled.
Jeez, that's a good economy rate.
Not bad.
But not as good as Hayden Atts.
Not as good as Hayden Atts. His was off 8 overs.
Yeah, I would, if
his strike rate would be better too.
Do you know what? And this is, no disrespect to you, Diz. You've had a great career, but if I'm choosing between 7 for 5 or 8 for 38, even though you got the extra wicket, I'm taking the 7 for 5. So well done, Hayden. You're a promising young bowler, and you've outdone the great man already. So well done to you. Well done to you. Great things to aspire for. Now, the Sheffield Shield. We're 4 rounds in, and it is.
Are we liking what we're seeing at the top of the table?
It's so hard to say, but because this podcast is going nationally, I don't want to upset anyone.
Right.
I think it's great for Australian cricket to see there's some young talent leading the charge for the Victorians. But 4 wins, no losses to start the season.
They're playing some really good cricket, aren't they, the Victorians? I think they're a well-balanced side, and they've got a good mixture of youth and experience. And I think if there's ever been in the past, I suppose, a criticism of Victoria and their selection policies is that they always plump for older, experienced players at the expense of youth. And I think they've just got the balance absolutely right. Chris Rogers has got it absolutely right at the moment. Well led by Pete Hanscom. Yeah. Got a couple of experienced heads in there, but also some young players coming through that are very exciting.
They are. And they're bowling, batting, all-round depth. They've got it all covered.
Squad depth. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So everything. We haven't really spoken about Will Sutherland this year, but I think he's one of the more exciting prospects around Australian cricket, both from a batting and bowling lens. Been interesting to see Fergus O'Neill's improved numbers with the bat, and I'm just wondering if that's a bit of a play from him. He hasn't been picked as an out-and-out bowler, even though he's been putting up really good numbers for a couple of years now. I'm just wondering if he thinks that by strengthening the batting side of his game, you always talk about being multi-skilled, multifaceted player. I'm wondering if that's a bit of a play for him to be able to put himself really up in front of the national selectors.
I think with Fergus O'Neill, I think he'd be, if he was going to play for Australia, a horses for courses selection. So what I mean by that is he'd definitely be in the conversation for an Ashes tour. Look, I think he's just signed a 2-year contract with Nottinghamshire. He had a little stint with them there this year. I think he's signed for the next 2 years, and the second year, that's an Ashes year. His bowling suits English conditions. The Duke ball, slightly more pronounced seam, it just swings. He's not a prodigious swinger of the ball, Fergus O'Neill, but he swings it enough to get the edge. And his disciplines, his accuracy is very good. And as you said, his batting has shown signs of improvement this year. Just as well as that's just as much as anything, just being in the system for a few years and get that confidence and being out in the middle and mixing it with fellow first class players in Australia. He's doing very well, and the Vics are flying. They've got they're 1 foot into the Shield final already, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, they're pretty much there.
They could probably win one more game, and they're going to get there.
Yeah.
So, and thoroughly deserved. They've started the season superbly.
And this is where it gets interesting. Every other team's on 1 win.
Mm-hmm.
Every other team. So Queensland are in second, and this is purely on points. You've got Queensland in second, WA in third, New South Wales in fourth, South Australia fifth, Tasmania last, who of course lost those 2 points earlier in the season for slow over rates. But it's literally anyone's game. It's almost like for those teams that are about to probably head into, I think, one more round of the Shield, 1 or 2 more rounds of the Shield, and then into Big Bash.
Yep.
But it's almost like you could start your season again now. If you felt you'd had a poor start to the year, and I know the South Australians would be feeling like they're starting to build now, but they did have a slow start. It's an open canvas from here to be able to essentially start your season again and push for that second spot in the Shield final.
Oh, no question. As you said, each of the other 5 teams have 1 win each, so it is genuinely as open as it's going to be. I think I reckon first or second round after Christmas, then we'll start to see a bit of a divide, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Oh, it's a big couple of months ahead in the Shield, and even bigger, we're finally getting there. We're going to talk some Ashes.
Oh, lovely.
All right. So, Diz, we're recording today. It's a Tuesday. First test starts on Friday. When are you flying over for your coverage as well with ABC?
Wednesday afternoon. So got a couple of functions on Thursday. As I mentioned in the open, I'm doing one with Damien Fleming on Thursday and a couple of former players, which should be a lot of fun. Flem and I are pretty good mates, and he's turned himself into a very good MC these days. He'll be firing off the questions all our way. So really looking forward to that.
So we've spoken a lot about Brendan Doggett already. We think he's going to be the man to come in and play the game. Last podcast, you spoke about Sean Abbott's selection in the squad. He's come out injured. You mentioned that you thought it would have been a tight tussle between him and Michael Neser. Well, Michael Neser's come in essentially as his replacement. Could play a role if required, but I think you mentioned that he would be almost he could cover off for an all-round injury as well, given his batting skills as well, if required.
Yeah, I think so. And I think Michael Neser, if there's still injury clouds over Cummins and Hazelwood, he'll certainly come into calculations for the Brisbane test, the day-night one. He's played a day-night test in Adelaide.
Both of his tests have been in Adelaide.
Both, with a bit of success. So Australia know. I think with Michael Neser, they know what they're going to get. So there's no secrets there. He's fit and strong. Yes, the age profile of a lot of our bowlers is a little bit on the older side, but with that age comes experience as well. So we've got to balance that out. They'll know that they'll get a competitor who will come out there and do the job, but I can't see Neser leapfrogging Doggett before this first test. I think Doggett will play, and as we've touched on, and I think that's very exciting for Australian cricket.
Yeah, and it's also exciting to look. I don't mind change. I know that some people feel really wedded to tradition, and Australia have played something like 37 opening tests in Brisbane, and they've only lost 2 in that time. What are your thoughts about the change between the opening test going from Brisbane, where it was a fortress for Australia for so long, into Perth, where we lost the first test last year? Do you think it's a long-term play, or do you think it's situational based on the fact that Perth have got this great new stadium and Brisbane's isn't too far away?
Yeah, look, I haven't really given it too much thought. Does it have something to do with Western Australia, the time zones, with the subcontinent? I don't know. It's an ideal viewing times. I'm not sure, because you're right. The Gabba has been a fortress for Australia, but the Gabba is going to make way. This new stadium in Perth is absolutely fantastic. And the West Test is a good lead into the season. So I'm neither here nor there. I think, yes, tradition is important, but what we've seen over the journey is that Test matches haven't always been, the New Year's Test hasn't always been Sydney, contrary to what most people think. I mean, I made my Test debut in '96, December '96, early December 1996 in Sydney, because that was the second Test of the summer. So that summer, we played the West Indies. It was the first Test was Brisbane, second was Sydney, third was the Boxing Day Test Melbourne, fourth was the Australia Day Test in Adelaide, and the final Test was early Feb in Perth. Obviously, this was pre-BBL days and the like. But I find it hilarious when people get their end up and say, oh, but it's Sydney Test has always been in Sydney. Well, no, it actually hasn't. So it's a bit like the Australia Day debate. Everyone just assumes it's always been on January 26th. Well, it actually hasn't. Yep. It's been many different dates over the years. So, so I'm not against tradition at all, Trav. But if there's a way to make things better, then I think can explore it. And I don't mind the West Test, I'll be honest.
Well, you don't mind the West Test. You're right. You've done this beautifully. I think we were quickly talking about your record in Perth. Now, albeit different ground, but they try to still keep that reputation of being that hard, bouncy wicket that we all remember from the Wacker. So your Ashes stats in Perth. So you played 2 tests.
Yep.
At the Wacker and Ashes series, and you finished with 10 for 189 with 10 wickets, average of 18.9. So that's a pretty good couple of games for you. One in 98, one in 2003.
Yep.
You would have one standout out of those 2 games?
The 98 one, I did get a fifer. It was an expensive one. It was 5 for 88 off about 15 overs. So I went the journey. I remember the night before, I'd got hit around by my length was just too short. I was bowling from the Lily Marsh stand end, and I was just bowling a fraction too short. And if you don't get your length right in Perth, you can go the journey. And Mark Ramprakash and Graham Hick were hitting me for 4s and 6s over mid-wicket because I just was bowling too short. And I think I finished that day 9 overs, none for 69. And I thought, I was moping around. I thought, oh, my career's over here. I'm not going to get picked again. Certainly not going to bowl again in this innings. And so then the next day, Tubby Taylor was captain, and he's just sort of sidled up to me and goes, "Oh, Diz, look, I know you didn't quite get it right last night. Just adjust your length a little bit, mate. You'll be right. You're starting off today, bang." And just gave me a pat on the back and then wandered off. And I've never felt more supported and backed. So I was in the pit of misery. I was feeling terrible. I thought, oh, mate, my career's over. But just that support from the captain, I stood a foot taller and I got my length right, and all of a sudden I picked up a few wickets and ended up getting a fifer. So I went from none for 69 to 5 for 88 in pretty quick time. It was just an adjustment of length and a bit of belief, not only myself but from the captain and my teammates. Was that belief was there, and so don't underestimate that. How important that belief is, not only within yourself but from other people around you. I was able to adjust, and then things go your way, don't they? Yeah. I finished with a fifer.
Well done, Diz.
Oh, thank you, mate.
And then you went on to have a glorious remainder of your career as well. Now, I want you to put your coach's hat on because we've got a big series ahead and there's some really key players. So the first one, I want to look at how bowlers may exploit different batters or bowlers' plans to different batters through the series. So let's start at the top. Let's go to England's Joe Root. He's the one of the best batters in the world, probably England's greatest of all time.
Yep.
The Aussies have had some success against him in Australia in the past. What are they going to be looking to do? That first test, Scott Boland, Brendan Doggett, Mitch Starc, and Nathan Lyon going to look to do in that first test match against Joe Root.
Yeah, with Joe Root, I think what's been almost his Achilles heel a little bit, somewhat in Australia, is he's nicked off a lot. In the UK and other parts of the world where the surfaces don't bounce and carry as much as they do in Australia, he's able to play the ball really late under his eyes and run it to the vacant third man, so past second slip, third slip, or whatever. That's all well and good. That's fine in lower, slower conditions. It's actually quite a safe shot. In Australia, not so much, because with the extra bounce, you run the risk of nicking off and getting caught behind the wicket. So my suggestion would be for the Australians is to target that fourth stump line, just outside off stump, be patient on a length, that bail height, maybe just a little bit above, and encourage Joe to try and look to score in that vein. If you get too wide, he'll look to cut. If you get too straight or too full, he'll look to punch back down the ground. So length is a key, but also that disciplined line. And Joe's plan will be to leave as many of those as possible. Now, I know in the current trend of the England batters and the way they go about their cricket, they don't like to leave too much. They like to get bat on ball. They like to hit lots of deliveries. But if they want to have success in Australia with the extra bounce, they're going to have to know when to leave the ball alone. And predominantly, as I've always said with my coach's hat on, if you're hitting the ball outside off stump, if you're looking to score, you want to play with either an absolute vertical bat or a horizontal bat. You do not want in between 45, because that's when you get into trouble. So, and what I mean by that, wait for your cut shots and wait for your straight drives and genuine half volleys so you can drive through the offside. If it's not a cut or really full to drive off the front foot, leave it alone. Keep it nice and simple.
I like it. Now, one thing about Joe Root's game, particularly when he's come to Australia, he hasn't had a shortage of 50s. I think one thing that the Australian bowlers can keep in mind if he does get off to a good start is you're always in the game, because he has been prone to, a little lapse in concentration when he has been here. And he's got out in the 50s, 60s, 70s a lot of times in Australian conditions.
Yeah, he has. And I think that's as much to do with the quality of the bowling as much as anything. As I've said, the surfaces bounce, they carry through. And we've got three of the best quicks that have ever played the game he's had to deal with. And Scotty Boland, who's still, relatively, hasn't played as much as the other big three, but averaging 12. So, he's done very well. So, look, Joe Root, in his defence and in defence of the England sides over the last decade, they've come up with against one of the best bowling lineups, that, if not the best bowling lineup that Australia's ever been able to put out on a cricket field. So it's been tough work for them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they fare. That they'll see it as an opportunity without Cummins and Hazelwood in this first test. They'll certainly believe there's an opportunity there, but they should. They've just got to make sure the English that they don't get too complacent, because Scotty Boland and Brendan Doggett are two very fine bowlers.
They certainly know how to play the conditions here, and we saw how Boland debuted as well. You can't write off a debutant, can you?
No, absolutely.
So this is the next one I'm really interested in. Harry Brook. I'm just having a look at some of his numbers here. He's played 30 Test matches now, averaging 57, 10 hundreds in 30 games. That's 100 every 3 games. I know that's genius maths by me just there, but how is he going to adapt to Australian conditions? Because he wouldn't have probably played in anything quite like it at this stage of his career. In red ball cricket, that is.
In red ball cricket, yeah. Look, a few years ago, he had an opportunity with the Hobart Hurricanes in the T20 and struggled. But look, T20 is very different from Test cricket. And look, Harry is a fine player. He's had a wonderful start to his Test career. I think at the end of his career, they're going to be talking about him in the same breath as Joe Root Alistair Cook, Jeff Boycott, Kevin Peterson, and the like. So, he's a very fine player. How's he going to fare out here? I think he'll be fine if he adjusts to the bounce. He's used to playing on the lower, slow wickets. They had a practice match at Lilac Hill, a low, slow club wicket there in Perth. Look, he'll look to be aggressive. He'll look to come down the wicket and impact and try and throw the Australian bowlers off their lines, off their lengths. But I think he'll need to just sort of temper it a little bit and absorb some good bowling, because he's going to get some very good bowling this summer from the Australians. And that's what good test players do. They adjust, they adapt their game to situations, to conditions, and to the bowlers.
Yeah, and for our English listeners as well now, because I know that we're getting some listeners, particularly the Yorkshire fans, are loving you. Now, we don't have an Ask Dizzy edition today, but we will certainly be doing one next week. But for our English listeners as well, who are keen to hear your views on how the English bowlers can fare against the Australian batters. So the one that we're all thinking he's one of our best of all time, probably one of the best in the world still over a long period of time, Steve Smith. Now, he went through a bit of a lull for a couple of years there. He opened the batting for a few tests against the West Indies, and then he's gone back into his favourite spot of number 4. Where do you think the English are going to be able to hone in on to try and catch Smudge early in his innings? Because he's a little bit unlike Joe Root. If he gets a start, he very, very rarely misses the ton.
Yeah, look, he's a wonderful player, isn't he, Steve Smith, and has done it for many years, as you mentioned. I suspect the English will try to upset his rhythm a bit. I think he can expect a lot of short stuff, a lot of aggressive short bowling, and then they'll literally home in on the stumps, I think, and set the appropriate fields on the leg side, so that he's a very good player off his stumps, isn't he? He can work it and find those gaps, but if they plug a few of those gaps and really attack his stumps when they're not attacking his body, I think that's the method that the English will go to try and upset Steve Smith. And it'll be up to him to see how he can counter that style of bowling. And England, it seems pretty obvious to me that they're going to attack with seam and be aggressive. Will Archer and Wood play in the same game, or will they just rotate those guys? I don't know, but I suspect they'll look to go pretty hard in Perth. Gus Atkinson will probably play a role in this series as well. He's not express, but pitches the ball up. He can move the ball off the straight. I'm actually quite a fan of Bryden Cass, the Durham seamer.
Yeah.
I watched him. We played on one of the most benign wickets I've ever seen, Pakistan versus England in Multan last year. And Bryden Cass kept running in hard, and all the Pakistan batters said he was the hardest to face. He was the one that was hitting the bat the hardest. He just kept bowling back of a length on a really batter-friendly wicket, and he just kept attacking and kept attacking. And he's got a good motor. He's fit and strong. I think Australian conditions will actually suit him quite well.
So who are you expecting to see? So we're thinking that England might not go with the specialist spinner in Perth and go.
I don't think they'll go a specialist spinner in Perth. I think they'll go if they want to attack. They'll go Archer and Wood. If they want to attack early, they'll probably go Archer and Wood for the first test, and then they'll play alternate games for the rest of the series. So they'll each play 3 games. And then they'll have, obviously Stokes will play as more often, probably the 5th seamer, to be honest. And then they'll have, I think Castle play, and then I think one of Josh Tongue or Matthew Potts.
Yeah.
Tongue is probably a bit more inconsistent, but he's got that little bit of extra airspeed.
Yeah.
And he bowls wicket-taking balls, Tongue.
Yeah, he actually had a good game against the Aussies I reckon he played at Lords.
He got a fifer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bowled well. He bowled with some real venom. And while he can be a bit inconsistent and can bowl the odd poor delivery, he bowls wicket-taking balls. And that's dangerous. Whereas Potts is kind of the opposite. He's probably not quite as quick, but he's got a good motor. Just runs in all day, hits a spot on the wicket, back of length, back of length, back of length. He can almost the donkey work. So It will depend what England need, what they feel they need with their bowling attack and the structure of their bowling attack.
So another player. Now this is we've gone for the big dogs to start with Root, Brook, Smith. But you've had a lot of a look at Jake Weatherald. Now we think we're going to see him in the first test.
Yeah, we think we do.
Yeah. So what are we expecting to see out of his style? How do you think the England bowlers might look to go after Jake early in his innings in particular?
Yeah, well, if they look to bounce him and make him uncomfortable, they're probably going to be a bit disappointed because he can play the short ball quite effectively. But he's very strong square of the wicket, Jake, like through the offside and leg side. And when he's on song, he plays down the ground very nicely. So I think England, much like most players, I think you've got the old KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid. Top of off stump, that fourth stump line. If you've got your slips in place, you've got a nice hard new ball. That's how you want to bowl to opening batters, and that's what they don't want. They want you to opening batters as a fast bowler. They want you to try and search for that perfect ball because they know it's very hard to bowl the perfect ball, and it gives you opportunities to score. So if you're going for that big glory in swinger that starts a foot outside off stump, swings back into middle stump, chances are you're not going to be able to bowl that, and you're going to miss your length, whether it be you're going to miss your length or you're going to miss your line, and that creates opportunities to score. The harder bowlers are the ones that literally just come in, hit a spot on the wicket, might just nibble either way off the seam, might just swing a little bit through the air, but it's hitting a shoebox on a length, just on outside off stump, and it's forcing you to play, to make a decision. And whether it's a decision to defend or a decision to leave, that's what openers don't want. And that's what all fast bowlers should be aspiring to, is hitting that shoebox on a length, off stump, fourth stump line.
Now, we've all heard your prediction about, we'll recap, 3-1 was your prediction with a washout in Sydney. So looking forward to a different type of prediction. We are so used to seeing something ridiculous happening on the first ball of an Ashes series. Think Steve Harmison. That's the first one that comes to my mind, that big super wide.
Mitchell Starc to Rory Burns.
Mitchell Starc to Rory Burns. Even after all of the talk about Bazball leading into the last series and then Zach Crawley cracking a nice 4 on the first
That's right.
ball. So I want your first ball prediction. Who's going to be I'll let you have a toss of the coin so you can say if England are batting first and if Australia are batting first, what's that first ball going to look like? Who's going to be facing?
If England win the toss, I think they'll have a bowl. And I suspect it's probably going to be Jofra Archer bowling to Usman Khawaja. And I think it'll probably be, I'm going to go pretty generic. I think it'll be a little tuck off the hip for one, just to get the test match underway.
Nice.
Keep it nice and simple. I'm not going to go for a big raucous wicket or big boundary. I just think it'll be just typical Uzi. He'll just shuffle across. He'll just tuck it away to the leg side for one.
Well, if Australia bat first, I'm tipping that Weatherald will face
You
up.
reckon?
Yep. So McSweeney faced the first ball last year.
I'd much prefer the incumbent, the experienced Usman Khawaja.
So do I.
Should be facing the first ball.
But I just don't know that he does. So this will be interesting. Anyway, so I think Weatherald will face.
Right.
I think Weatherald will have a slash at a ball outside off stump, and he'll get it through or over the slips for 4. That's my
beautiful.
Yeah, I'll tell which you'd take.
Let's hope that it happens.
If he was offered that before the test, 4 off his first ball, no matter how it is, I think he's taking it. Get off the mark.
Okay, and if England are batting first?
If England are batting first, then Crawley faces.
Yep.
Tries to hit the 4 first ball to replicate what he did last series. He'll chop it onto the stumps. Bowl.
No, I'm going to go very similar. I'm going to big in swinger. He's just going to miss a straight one. It's going to hit him on the board and LBW out.
And we all know that Mitch Starc will be bowling because Mitch Starc
That's right.
always bowls that first ball.
Correct.
And has a great record at wickets in the first over. So as Australians, we'd love to see it. But well, Diz, mate, we've ticked over an hour. We've chatted away without much structure, but that's just what we do best here on the Still Not Out podcast. And the listeners for joining us today, it has been exceptional to have you on board for the first few episodes. We've been lucky enough to get Dizzy on board for an Ask Dizzy episode every week so far, which is unbelievable. So if you do have your questions, we'll be finding a time to do those next week. So by that point, we've probably got a result from the first test.
Yep.
By the time we catch up,
shouldn't we?
And so send your questions through, and if that's whilst the test match is on, you've got a thought and you want to reach out, you can send us a message, comment on one of the posts so we can see it, and we'll get that question to Dizzy on the next episode of Ask Dizzy. If you're not already on our socials, make sure you're doing so. So if you're watching this, you're on YouTube now, or we're also on Instagram, or on TikTok, or on Spotify. That's where you can listen to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, everywhere. If you look up Still Not Out, Dizzy Gillespie on...
Still not out.
You're still not out. It's
Still
unbelievable. We're 5 weeks in, you're still not out. We haven't been cancelled just yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. But as we like to do in our long-form podcast, is Dizzy's opportunity to give us some glory in terms of a dad joke. So, Diz, I'm going to pass it over to you to close the episode.
Trav, I've been looking all around to try and find just the perfect joke for you today. All right.
It's on the punchline, Diz.
Yep, okay. So, and I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I got it absolutely right. I was out with my young daughter and ran into a friend I'd not seen in years, Trav.
Okay.
This is Beth, I said, introducing my kid. What's Beth short for? He asked. Because she's only 3.
Hang on a minute. Now, I'm going to need to think about this.
Oh, Trav, please.
Beth?
What's Beth short for?
Elizabeth.
Because she's only 3 years old.
I was thinking, what's Beth got to do with the number 3?
How did he not get that?
Once I got that, I really enjoyed it. But I think it was... I've never been, I've always been a bit slow on jokes.
Right.
It has been a thing that's always stuck with me.
That's glacial, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember jokes well?
Not bad.
Okay.
Not bad. I remember funny ones, but I still need to sort of either write them down or commit them to memory somehow.
Yeah, you do, because I have a really hard time actually remembering them. So I just rely on my natural humour more so than the one-line jokes to get me across the line.
Yeah, I'd probably encourage you to rely on something else.
And on that note, that'll be all. Still Not Out podcast. Great to have you with us. We'll be back with an Ask Dizzy episode next week. Get your questions through. Follow us on the socials. Share. 5-star reviews only. Love your work, Diz.
Great work, Trav.
See you next time.